Hi there, this is Martin Barre, guitar player, and you're listening to Houdini's Rock and Roll Circus.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. Yet another interview here we have for you folks today with the legendary Martin Barre. Yes, that Martin Barre from Jethro Tull. We have him on the line today, and lots of questions for him, so we're going to get right into it in a second. But first, I want to thank my sponsor, Positively Pittsburgh Live Magazine. That is pplmag.com. This is Pittsburgh's first internet radio, TV network, online community magazine, and business directory. Go to pplmag.com. And like I said, you are listening to the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus, and if you love great music that isn't getting played on the radio, you want to go to loudinirockandrollcircus.com, where you can hear a new music podcast every Saturday, and another interview new interview every Wednesday, just like the one you're about to hear right now. LoudiniRockandRollCircus.com. Now, for the past 5 years, Martin Barre has toured the world with his own band to play the classic music from the Jethro Tull catalog, and also many new tracks written by Martin from his albums Away with Words, Order of Play, plus his latest album, Back to Steel, which, by the way, kicks freaking ass. For 43 years, Martin was a renowned guitarist for Jethro Tull, and his role in the band cannot be overestimated. His unique sound and style contributed enormously to their success, which includes several chart-topping albums, 11 gold and 5 platinum albums, a Grammy Award for Crest of Knave in 1988, and album sales exceeding 60 million units. Oh, my God. Martin, welcome to the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus.
Hi, Luke. I'm reeling from those statistics. I'm on the floor. I'm so impressed, and I never knew.
You never knew.
I never realized how amazing I am.
Yeah. Well, you influence a lot of people. I mean, a lot of guys, Eric Johnson, Joe Bonamassa, have all, Mark Knopfler have all lauded you as an influence and somebody who, really important to them as a guitarist. So, so congratulations on that. So tell us a little bit about your style, though, like who influenced you, because you aren't really like a trained musician, right? You didn't really take lessons or anything, right?
No, but that essentially you teach yourself. It's the same deal, and I think I'm better for it, because if somebody gives you a program that you need to follow, you're missing out on so much. I just think discovering music is half of learning how to play, and I think sort of finding the answers, the solutions to your own questions about how music works and how the blues works, how rock and roll music goes together, about any style of music. Finding the answers is really part of the learning process. So I have been taught, but by myself. So I'm pleased that I was. In retrospect, there's areas that I'm weak, technique, and probably some guy who's had some amazing guitar teacher for 5 years would wipe the floor with his technique. But I've trained my ear to be as good as it can be, and overall, I'm happy I took the route I did.
Did you sit down and learn licks and stuff off of records when you get started? Is that what you did, or do you just pick up and start playing your own stuff right away?
Yeah. Well, luckily when I was learning, there wasn't much going on musically.
Okay.
Sounds stupid, but in the mid '60s, there was very little guitar playing to draw influences from. So I sort of picked up bits of influences from maybe piano players, singers, sax players. I listened to a bit of jazz, I listened to country, I listened to folk, I listened to rock and roll, and then later on R&B and soul and Tamla. And it didn't specifically tell you what to do on the guitar, but I just think because it just taught me about melody and construction and arranging. So it was pretty late on that I started listening to a lot of other guitar players. It changed in England in the very late 60s, where John Mayall was pretty established, Hendrix was over here, and it was the sort of dawn of the guitar heroes. But by then, I've sort of found my own path. I didn't want to learn what they were doing, but most guitar players in England certainly were listening to Freddie Beebe and Albert King, Buddy Guy, and they were just learning their licks. And I just thought, you're wasting your time because these guys are amazing. Just leave them alone. Let them do what they do perfectly. And so I never sort of went down that side of music. I liked what they did and I listened to it, but I sort of found my own route through it all.
Well, you have a sort of really cool mix of really nasty blues rock kind of phrasing, but then you bring in these more sort of fusiony, classical kind of elements. Now, was that intentional? Was that something that you intentionally worked on, or did that just seem to flow out of you?
Well, yesterday I was at a PRS guitar convention in England, and Paul Reed Smith was there, and he loves to talk about music and guitars, obviously. And he said to me, he said, "You know what you are?" He said, "When I hear you play, you're really English." He said that no Americans can play like that, but the English guitar players are different. That it's so much more melodic, so much more paced and constructed. And I didn't know what to say, because I do what I do. And I don't sort of analyse it. But I think probably there's a tradition in England of listening to more diverse music. I listen to a lot of classical music, and I always have. And that teaches you so much about every facet of music, dynamics, arrangement, construction, harmony, space, melody. It has everything in it, and a lot of people will ignore classical music because they find it depressing, old, ridiculously stupid reasons, because classical music in its day was at the forefront. People would go and hear Mozart's latest piece of music, and sometimes they hated it. It was too modern. It was too extreme. But he was as groundbreaking in his day as punk music has been, as Hendrix was, as all these sort of genres of music. It's the same deal. They went through the same process of sort of pushing the envelope. So it's so relevant. People will be listening to Hendrix in 50, 100 years, the way that people now can listen to Bach and Mozart and Brahms. There's no difference, and it's a totally important part of music.
Well, you guys, like in Jethro Tull, you guys were, obviously trying to kind of push musical the boundaries of like the traditional or the idea of the rock and roll song by bringing in these other sounds and these other textures. How do you balance pushing back? Because even on your new music, I hear this, you're pushing those boundaries. But how do you balance that by still creating like an accessible song so it doesn't just become a sort of like, oh, look what I can do sort of thing?
Well, when I talk about people pushing boundaries, I'm not talking about myself. I might be modest, but in my mind, I'm definitely not pushing boundaries.
Okay.
I'm only pushing boundaries within my own world. And I'm trying to write better songs, write better music. But basically, I want to write music that people really want to listen to. Such a basic requirement. And it sounds naive, but essentially it's pretty pointless writing a piece of music that's groundbreaking and sort of incredible technique and bizarre music. And, some people will do that, but I want to be able to take my music around the world, play to everybody and anybody, and I want them to really like what I'm doing. It's so I'm only pushing myself. But certainly, I would never be pretentious enough to say that I was pushing the boundaries of rock music at all. You know, other people are doing that, and sometimes, you know, that they pay the price of that. Not many people like it, and then other people do it and break through, and they're like amazing. You know, but it's a brave thing to do. And maybe if I was 20 years old, I would risk it. But right now, I have an agenda, and that is I want to play live gigs, and I want the people that come and see the band play live to love it. I want them to go out at the end of the night with a big smile on their face.
Well, okay, great. Then let me ask you about this, because you brought it up yourself. You said when you talk about pushing boundaries, you're talking about pushing your own personal boundaries. The guitar, then. Is there still things you want to be able to accomplish on the guitar? Are you still practicing? Are you still like trying to learn, find new things? I mean, beyond the songwriting aspect of it, but just for the playing of the guitar itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't, as a musician on the planet, well, there probably are, but I mean, most musicians are constantly, you know, it's a carrot on the end of a stick, because you know what you want to be and what you are will never meet up. If it ever does, well, tell me about it, because I'd like to know. But it's impossible, because it's infinite, and there's so many great players to inspire you. If I ever think I've run out of ideas, you know, I can go and listen to 100 different country players, some bluegrass mandolin, some gypsy jazz, some fusion, and go, come on, you know, you've got a way to go yet. But I play every day, and every day, I guess I learn something. And I you know, but then I'm not demanding. It's just a day when I play my guitar or play a bouzouki or a mandolin. It's a great day for me, because I really love doing it. And even if I just sort of rehearse the set list for another gig, just sort of run through, make sure I'm familiar with it again, it's still a really big pleasure for me.
Mm. Martin, you have a very, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people with you have a very distinctive guitar sound. It's kind of thick. It's got this cool, like mid-range, almost saxophone, violin sort of tone to it. Now, was that something you were kind of going for intentionally, and how important is tone to you?
It's massive. It's massively important, and I've been playing guitars and amps for over 15 years, and you know that I'm always fine-tuning, and I'm fine-tuning the amp, you know, but by millimeters, EQ-wise, but I think, you know, I find, you know, I have the guitars and amps that I love. I play PRS guitars, I play through Soldano amps. But the more, it's like they're like people, because you get to know them, and the more you know about them, the more you get from them, and essentially the more you put in, the more you get out. And I learned a lesson a long time ago when I was just started professional, and I was doing this terrible session in London for a really awful songwriter, and he'd somehow persuaded Jeff Beck to come and play a solo on his record. So he came in the studio. He didn't have a guitar. He didn't have an amp. He came in the studio, looked around the room, saw a guitar leaning against the wall, went over to a bunch of old amps, pulled one out, plugged in, and it was amazing. Mm. So there's a lesson in that the source of his talent and sound doesn't come from the guitar or the amp. It comes with what happens before. It's earlier on in the process. It's the fingers, it's the attack, it's the right hand, it's the left hand, it's the brain sending messages to the hand. There's a million different messages going on in your own body before you even plug your guitar in and start hearing what's coming out. I just think if you ever hear a guitar player with a great tone, the last thing you want to do is go and buy, I shouldn't be saying this. Shall I say that don't expect to sound the same?
Okay.
Yeah, but I better backtrack and say that the only thing you can be sure of, that whatever gear Jeff Beck uses, or I use, or Steve Vai uses, or Joe Bonamassa uses, is the best you can get. That's for sure. But you won't sound like him. You'll just sound like yourself.
Yeah. As like, a lot of guitar players are trying to, cop like Robin Ford's tone or something like that, and they, spend gazillion dollars on those amps, and then they go, I can't make it sound like Robin Ford. Well, you're not Robin Ford.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a great example because I listen to him, and I'm in awe of the sound he produces. But I wouldn't even try to even think I could get the same sound. I mean, it's just from years and years. And even he says, he uses a Dumble amp, but don't expect to plug into one and sound great. So it's a big investment in hours and hours of getting to know the amp, fine-tuning it. He said that you have to work hard to get a sound out of them. But when you do, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same to a degree with anything. You've got to set your guitar up. You've got to work with your amplifier. You've got to experiment with microphones. There's so many chemicals in the formula. But that makes it exciting. It makes players different. And then you've got technique, you've got your writing skills. It makes music exciting because the variables just go on and on and on. So it makes for unique music, which is great.
Well, speaking of unique music, you've got this your latest record out, Back to Steel. Let's talk about this record. It is smart. It is really good, man. I was really grooving on it. There's a lot I want to get into about it. But first of all, give us like the overview, like who's on it, who produced it, and that stuff.
Right. Okay, that's easy. It's basically a 4-piece band. That's me, Dan Crisp on vocals, Alan Thompson on bass guitar, and he plays a bit of slide guitar, George Lindsay on drums, and then I have 2 girl singers that sort of added some sort of bits and pieces and sang on one of the tracks. And they're local girls, and they are Ali Hart and Alani. I forgot Alani and Alex.
Alani Andrea, is that it?
Yes, well done. You got the album there. Yeah,
I
the reason I don't remember her name.
I'm cheating.
That's fine. I do the same myself all the time. She's so at the moment she's unavailable, so I use another girl called Becca Langsford. So it's basically a 4-piece band with the 2 girls adding vocals. I arranged it and produced it, but production. It's not a hat that you need to think about, because I work with a great engineer called James Bragg, and there's no question of who's producing or engineering. It's a team effort, and James and I work incredibly well. Have so much respect for him. But he's the guy putting it on the computer and getting the sound. So you have to give him some credit for the end result, not a lot of credit for the end result. But basically, the arrangement and the music is down to me. So I love it, I love having all that work to do. I love arranging music. I love the writing. Is really good fun. So I had a great time recording.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about because it seems like I hear like a little bit of a message, especially like in Back to Steel, and it's getting better. Like I hear the sort of idea that like, hey, that was the past, and we're going forward, and I'm excited about what I'm doing. Is that like the sort of kind of like maybe, I know it's not like necessarily a concept album, but is that the sort of maybe kind of feeling or the vibe of the album?
Yeah, it was. Lyrics are difficult, and I find them really difficult. And I mean, you could write a love song, but I've been married for 40 years. I'm still in love. But I don't think I'm going to write a love song. I mean, you and I are sort of a love song, but it's. I wrote about what I feel and or what I was feeling at the time, and still am, and I just thought, I'm inspired by starting with a new band and writing my own music and performing it, and having so much more to do with every aspect of my musical career. So it is getting better, and it still is. And the Back to Steel thing was sort of I went to Nashville and I bought this old vintage guitar. It wasn't expensive, and on the way back I was in a motel, to sort of break the journey up, and I just sort of sat in the room the whole. I played that guitar virtually the whole night, and it's such a beautiful thing. It just made me think that that I think guitars have ghosts. The people that play them and own them. I'd love to know all about them and how they looked after it, what sort of music they played on it. I mean, if guitars could talk, it would be very interesting. And so I just thought, that's what music's all about. It's just about wood, steel, the ebony fretboard. It's such a guttural thing. It's such a something you can really. You're holding it in your hands. It's such a very real thing to be involved in. You look at computers, and it's all not very personable. But a guitar, it's really a part of you, and I just thought, I've been missing that. I've been missing playing guitar a lot. I've been missing having fun with a guitar and enjoying it. So yeah, those are the themes.
Why the remake of Skating Away?
Because the tradition for my band is that we play Jethro Tull material, but I don't want to play it except in a very, very few instances, exactly like the record. It won't be like the record because there isn't a singer flute player on it. So rather than just have it minus flute and a different voice, I try and make it more personal to me and the band. So I sort of rearrange them, just change them a bit. And so I always say that I deconstruct them and then start and build them up again. And I might change the chords. I might change a lot in it, or I might just make it sound different, make it sound more heavy. It's just putting my imprint and without ruining the song, hopefully. And I think people respect that I'm not just going through the motions of, here's another Jethro Tull song, you all know this one. Oh, here we go. It's almost like the new songs. They're fresh and they're exciting and they're powerful. I want them to be my version of it. And so, to summarise it, I want to keep that sort of changing. I don't want to play the same 10 songs every night. I want to reintroduce some different Jethro Tull songs, and we have 2 new ones for this tour coming up. I think it'll be really, really good. And I've been working. I mean, I spent a month working on them, which shows that, I mean, either I'm very, very slow, or it shows that I put a lot of thought into it. Hopefully the latter, that, you know, I'm not just going to relearn it and come on, guys, learn that one, will you? I really work hard to make it exciting again.
What are your favorite moments on the new record? Some of your favorite ones.
You're asking me. Well, at Moments of Madness.
Yeah, I think that kicks ass, man. I was listening to that right before you got on the call. That song kicks ass. That's a great jam.
Yeah, it sounds great live. It really sounds great. But I'd written it, and it was nothing like what you hear on the record, and it sort of didn't. The lyrics were awkward, and it didn't have any flow to it. It really didn't sit good, and I just didn't know what to do with it. And in fact, Alan Thompson, the bass player, said, "Look, you know, it's got a great riff. It starts with a great riff, and then the riff disappears. You know, rewrite the music based on the riff, and it will work." And you know, and I'm so pleased that he said that, because I went away, I ditched all of the lyrics, I ditched all of this music, verses and choruses, and I just reworked the riff to make it the foundation of the whole song. And he saved the song, and I'm so pleased he did so. I'm so happy that something which would have been a real shame to have ditched worked out really good. So I like that, and I like Back to Steel because it's a really great tempo. It's specifically, if any of them were written to play live, that one definitely was. And I wanted that tempo, I wanted that feel, I wanted a guitar riff, and I wanted it to be bluesy. So it was pretty, you know, I pretty well knew what I wanted, and I was happy the way that one worked out. I mean, I'm happy with the album. The next one will move on again. You know, but now I know what really worked for me exceptionally well. That I can focus on those elements and move those forward. I think the next album will be really straight ahead. It will be very much have a theme going right through it, rather than have the sort of little diversions of instrumental things, which were like, I mean, they were there so that, you know, you'd be sort of grooving along to one thing, and then it would suddenly take a diversion. It's just to keep people listening, and people go, "Whoa, that's different." And I like to think that if you put on a CD, and I'm terrible, if I put on anybody's CD, I'm bored after 10 minutes. I've had enough. I really like diversity, and maybe I've used it a little bit too much, but that's why I did it. I just like to think that there should be a lot of different things on there, but maybe next time not.
Well, speaking of next time, what's coming up for you and your band here in the next year or so? You guys, you say you're already putting together in your mind a new record, and are you guys touring? Yeah. What's coming up?
We've got 3 months in the States this year. Next year, I've booked 4 months in the States, and essentially outside of that, I just want to do festival dates in England and Europe. The clubs go nowhere, so I just want to do festivals. I love doing them, and then definitely another CD towards the end of this year. So I have something new for 2017, and then I have a really great idea for the format for a DVD. It will be a sort of studio, sort of like a session in the studio, but acoustic, guest artists, interviews. I know what I want to do, but I just need the time. So definitely another album, and I've written the first song for the album, so I'm on my way.
Good. And the best place for people to stay in touch or know what's going on is that your website, martinbarre.com?
Yeah, I've got my Facebook and website. I mean, the Facebook is something I update all the time, and so it's more sort of news. The web is more for information, and I think that's the way people use websites. You know, if they want to know what's going on in a musician's life, they look at his Facebook. If you want to know where the gigs are and how to get tickets, you go to the website.
Mm-hmm.
So it's less. There's not a lot of movement on my website, but definitely gig information and, you know, any news about albums and new releases, definitely on the website. But I think sort of Facebook is where people are going to know what I'm up to.
Okay. All right. So you guys go to martinbarre.com, and right there you can link to you can click on the tabs to get right onto Facebook. I see it right there. There's the Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. You can just get right in there with Martin and keep abreast of everything that's got going on. Martin, thanks a lot for hanging out with us today. Can you hang on a minute? I'd like to do a bonus question with you, if you don't mind.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up the official podcast, and then we're gonna come back here in a second and do a bonus. Martin Barre, everyone, go to martinbarre.com, and for those of you who've been living under a rock, that's Barre, Barre. So go there, and you can check out everything that Martin's got going on. His latest album, Back to Steel, it's a really great record. There's some dynamite moments on there. One thing we didn't mention is his cover or his remake of Eleanor Rigby, yes, the Beatles song, that is absolutely fantastic. And their reworking of Skating Away, for me personally, I like it better than the original version. But go to Martin's website, and you can find out all about the records and everything there. Guys, you've been listening to the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus. Go to LoudiniRockandRollCircus.com if you want to hear more interviews like this. We've got all kind of people we've been talking to, like Martin Barre, Tom Gimbel from Foreigner, all kind of cool people. So you want to go check that out. Every Wednesday there is a new interview. One more time, shout out to my sponsor, Positively Pittsburgh Live Magazine. That is pplmag.com. And if you like independent rock and you like music that is a little bit outside the mainstream, you want to go to supportindyrock.com, and where you can actually get involved and help us promote great artists like Martin, who although Martin had a fantastic career and still has a fantastic career, the Martin Barre stuff isn't exactly going to be on corporate radio, so we're doing everything we can to get the word out about that music. So check that out. Guys, thank you so much for listening, and tune back in to the Loudini Rock and Roll Circus every Wednesday and every Saturday to keep in touch with what's going on. Guys, thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next podcast.